Everybody, I'm excited to be here with you. One of the things that can sometimes make you lose sleep is when you do a root canal. Why? Because you spend all this time to clean all the canals out, and when you seal it up, you don't know if you have all the bacteria out. And we know that one of the primary reasons why root canal fails is because we have residual bacteria or tissue in that root canal system. And that can be very difficult for us when there's no way to tell. But this is changing. We now have the Endocator. And that's what I am excited to talk to you about today. Because the Endocator gives us the ability to determine how clean our canals are before we obturate them. Now, a long time ago, we could take cultures from the canal, but we had to basically process that, and it was a very time-consuming, not very practical way of determining the cleanliness of our canals. Now we know some of the research shows that we miss a lot of the canals as far as cleaning the canals, up to 35%, and I've seen studies that say even more, because our files have to go through the tortuous curves of the canal system, and sometimes it cleans the walls and sometimes it's unable to. So then we use our irrigants, and we've talked about that in many of our past programs. We use the irrigants to get into the nooks and crannies, and we actually activate the irrigant to do a better job. And yet when we are done, we are dependent on our procedural protocols that they have helped us clean the canal system out, but yet we don't know. We don't know how much bacteria is still in that canal system. Well, that's where, with all these little nooks and crannies, all the tubules, that even when we do the best job we can with our instrumentation and our irrigation, a tooth will still fail to heal. And that's what makes me lose sleep. What's the challenge? Is that we can't see clean with a microscope or with a radiograph. We are dependent on our procedural protocol. What file system we use, how we step up in our file size, how large of a file we end with, our irrigation, what type of irrigants we use, how long we use those irrigants, the volume of irrigant that we use, do we activate the irrigant or not? There's a lot of variables. And that's why I think some of us do good root canals, and yet if we leave any bacteria behind or a little bit of tissue, it fails to heal. And that is not a good thing for either us or our patients. So let me introduce you to the Endocator, because I think this is a solution to this challenge. We've got the endotesters, and the endotesters are like a little vial. And into these little endotesters, we're going to put our sample of liquid that we take out from the root canal system itself. There's a little swab in here and different reagents in this vial. So the endotester is the swab stick and the reagents. Now the Endocator is the instrument that is actually a luminometer that uses bioluminescence technology to detect the amount of ATP present, and then it will display to us an endo score, so it can quantify the cleanliness of the canal. And I think that's a great part. And it's really small and portable, and you'll have this in the operatory right beside you as you're doing your root canals. So the Endocator can detect trace amounts of ATP, and we know ATP is just that cellular energy source. So it can be ATP from nerve tissue, apical fluids, blood, or bacteria. It doesn't matter. If we leave any of that cellular debris behind, that root canal may fail. Because research has shown that canals contaminated with ATP are not ready to be filled. So this is a great tool. We go in, we use our procedural protocols I mentioned before. We file, we irrigate, we activate, we dry, we get everything as clean as we can, and then we use the Endocator to determine how clean do we really have the canal system. And if we look at the quantified number from our Endocator and we don't have the canal system cleaned out, then we go back in with either instrumentation or irrigation, and we work until our endo score goes down. So we have the Endocator, and this is the vial. Now, some parts of the vial, we have the swab stick, which is the orange part, and then we have the cotton swab attached to the bottom of that swab stick. So a swab stick we can actually push down and it'll go into the little tube. In the tube, we have a releasing reagent, and then we have our luminescent reagent at the very bottom. So what we do is we fill the tube up with our sample. We soak some of that sample into our swab, and we press the swab into the releasing agent and mix it with our luminescent reagent. When we're doing our root canal, we irrigate with stale water in the canals. Then we take a sample of that aspirated fluid, we put it on our cotton swab, and then we depress the swab stick until we push the cotton swab into our reagents. When we've pushed the swab stick all the way down, we shake it up to get the luminescent reagent at the bottom all dissolved. And then we take the endo tester and place it in the Endocator, activate the Endocator, and it gives us a quantitative score. It's amazing. So in this sample, I got a score of 67. The way this works, determined from a study using 1,000 patients, that if we have a score from 0 to 30, the canals are clean. We can obturate and fill those canals with confidence. If we have a score of 31 to 60, the canals still are contaminated, and 61 to 100 means they're really dirty. So if we have a score over 31, we want to go back in there, maybe with some more instrumentation, definitely some more irrigation, and then do another test until we get that count below 30. So again, now we have something that can quantify the amount of bacteria in that canal system. So when we do obturate and seal that up, we know we're going to have endodontic success. So let's say it took you 30 seconds to do this test, to irrigate, aspirate, and then check that sample with our Endocator. The Endocator is going to measure how clean the canals are before you obturate. So if you got a clean canal, the chance of retreatment's going to be much lower than if you have a dirty canal. So 30 seconds could save you hours. And the frustration of a retreatment not being a very easy procedure to do. So sleep like a baby again, knowing that your canals are clean before you do the obturation. I think the Endocator is one of those pieces of equipment from Vista Apex Solutions. It's innovation driven to make our job better and our patients more comfortable. Now, I thank you for joining us. I hope you like this. If you did like this information, hit subscribe or hit like and share this information, and keep an eye out for the Endocator. You're one of the first ones to know. Thank you very much.